Hi, my name is Oendrula and this is my channel about passion, feminism and entrepreneurship, and if you are interested in any of these three topics, do consider subscribing. In today's video, we're going to speak about the cultural shock that I faced when I moved from India to France. And if you're someone who is considering moving to France for studies or employment or generally being there as a digital nomad, then this video is for you. And this may help prepare you in advance or may just reduce the amount of shock that you get once you go. The cultural shocks that I'm going to talk about in this video are specific to France and I faced. Now, people from different parts of India might feel differently because again, India is a very diverse country. But for me, coming from Calcutta, these were the things, and coming from the environment and personal experiences and in college, school, and my family, these are the ones I found different, very different. But someone else may not find it so, and the things which I didn't find shocking also can be shocking for someone else, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when I talk about each point. So the first point, of course, is the fact that they speak French. I know that is kind of ungiven that in France they'll speak French, but you have to understand, coming from India where we study in English, and then we are taught English more than our own mother tongues in school, and that is a mode of education, mode of business and work and education really. It was very shocking because in India we know our mother tongues, but then we also use English between our friends, siblings, at work, with our parents. We consume news and read books in English, but so you would expect that okay, so they have French and they would also speak in English, but then that was not the case at all. Most people are comfortable to consume media, to read, to watch movies, to speak between friends, if they are French, to speak in French. So it's not that English is the language of business like in India. It's like French is the main language, and if at all they speak in English, is because someone over there even within the group or the students don't understand French. So you see, like it's an adjustment. It's not the natural way of things. So that was very shocking, and I was like, oh, I thought English is the international language because that's why we learn it, and that's why we spend all our lives perfecting our English more than our own mother tongues. And there are people in our own country who are like, I know English better than I know my mother tongue. It's kind of a flex.
How good you are at learning the language of your colonial masters.
When we went to France, we realized that all that language is of no use. So that was shocking. And I didn't know any French to add to it. Like if you've studied French, it can be easier, of course. And if you have a certain level, B2, that's good already. But I'd just taken a 3-month course before going to France, and I was absolutely not prepared. It was not just me. It was also like all my other classmates from India. They were equally shocked and frustrated. Second is the la bise. La bise is basically when French people greet each other, they kiss each other on the cheeks. It's like air kissing. Sometimes they can even like kiss you on the cheek, like my Moroccan flatmate, she used to do that. And that's just very normal, and that happens between girls and girls, boys and boys, boys and girls. And I, being the kind of person who is not even very comfortable with hugging, that was a big deal. I remember this incident where there was this guy from, I think, Tunisia, who was a classmate, and when he first met my Indian classmate, he was trying to do the la bise with him, and he was like slowly inching away, and he tried everything possible to avoid that la bise, which for him I guess was very weird and made him very awkward. But then yeah, I get used to it. And there are people who actually also do it like 4 times, so it's like supposed to be once on the I think there is an order to it. Yes, there is an order to it. I've forgotten which one is first. I think it's the first way you do it on the left and then the right. So there are people from certain like regions or certain countries where they do it twice on the left, twice on the right, alternating.
That takes a lot of time, right?
But that's not something you would do in a professional environment. It's mostly like between friends and family and classmates. Yeah, in a more informal environment. Yeah, the third one is smoking. Like French people, coming from Calcutta, I know it shouldn't be shocking because I've got this comment from people saying that when I was in Delhi that I'm the only Bengali girl they knew who didn't smoke. So Bengalis in general, like, they smoke a lot, girls and boys, and we are more open to that as a culture. But then in my personal circle, there were no people, like in my family, nobody smokes. In my friend circle, nobody smoked, or at least didn't smoke around me. And whatever smoking I've seen people do are mostly like, like the elderly men, uncles who've done it. So I've not seen young people like in my friend circle, like young people, the ones I knew who were my friends. And I haven't seen them, but when I went to France, I noticed it, like young and old people alike. Like old people, I'm used to seeing, like, because when I think of smoking, I think of that as a very old, middle-aged men thing. You know how it is in our culture, like women don't smoke, or even if they do, it's not like really approved. So I think of it as like an older person activity. But when I arrived in France, that's the first thing I noticed. Like young people, like my classmates, my friends, people my age were smoking, girls and boys alike. And that was very shocking for me to see people of my age smoke. I'm sure that's not the case. I wouldn't have found it shocking had I studied, let's say not studied, but had I been surrounded by friends of my age who used to smoke. Because when I was living in Delhi, that in like near the DU University, um, girls and boys, they would smoke just like how people like in France. The other thing that you're going to notice when you're going from India is that the shops are closed on Sundays. And yes, that's right. Like that was very shocking because normally we think like we'll go out on Sundays and run our errands, finish all the shopping that we have to do for before we start working on Monday or commence our Monday to Friday routine. But then things are closed, shops are closed. As far as I can recall, I don't know if things have changed since then, but most of the shops are closed, and that is quite a bummer considering that most of us are used to like doing the Monday to Friday routine and then relaxing on Saturday and then doing our errands, shopping, or hanging out and chilling in shopping malls or something like that. I mean, that's a culture more now. I'm not 100% like, I don't agree and approve of that culture where you just spend your Sundays on in malls going for a movie and then eating in the food court or whatever. I think that's pretty it's a waste of time. So in a way, actually, that is also the kind of the reason why this law exists. The idea is to protect smaller shops who might not necessarily be able to hire workers at a higher wages on Sundays. So it's an economic reason. There's an economic reason for this, and also culture and social reason. Like the government wants to protect workers, their personal and social life, so that they're not working on Sundays and able to spend time with their families and do social and cultural things, which I think is a very good thing. I mean, in the beginning we used to crib about it, like, oh, why aren't the shops open? Shops are open, and yeah, shops also close early. Like in India, at any time, like say I feel like having I'm craving ice cream, or I'm craving some chocolate or whatever, or a roll. I know that the shops are open till 10:30, 11. I can just go outside and get something. But then that luxury is not there, something that you take for granted in India. So yeah, actually we take that for granted, like having access to goods and products and services at all times. You can make some calls and make things happen. That is not going to happen in France. So be prepared for that and absolutely appreciate it while you're in India. The next one, which is really shocking, is that the festivals are quiet. I mean, this is something you'll find in the rest of the world, I guess. I didn't find when I was living in Delhi and Chennai the festivals to be like out there on the streets. Like in Calcutta, growing up in Calcutta, that's a big part of our festivals are more public than private. Like the idea is not to, like, say for Durga Puja, Saraswati Puja, which is coming up at this time that I'm recording it, and all the other pujas, Kali Puja, everything is a very public affair. It's a more cultural affair. It's about art and constructing pandals and music and cultural activities which are out in the public, like people performing on stages which are constructed in the middle of the streets, then the pandals which are constructed in the middle of the streets. So it's a whole public affair, and there's a lot of noise, and the whole city, like, life comes to a stand for that. Like, people make an effort for that outside of their homes, whereas in other parts of India I didn't feel like it was the case. It was mostly like a puja at home for family and friends, and then they distribute, like they gather at home. But for me, being from Calcutta, like that is something, festivals are meant to be, like you're meant to be outside the house. So that, coming from that background, I felt that like Christmas over there, everything is shut. Like for us, festivals are a time when you go out and eat and do all that stuff, but for them, Christmas is a time they spend with their family and they cook at home. Christmas and Thanksgiving. So, and even New Year's, I think 1st January, it's very quiet, whereas in India it's totally different. There'll be some crackers, like there'll be some firecrackers, there'll be like the loudspeaker blaring, blasting songs because it's 31st, and you will not find that. So in India you might not like it, but then once you go there you start missing it. Yeah. So that's the other shock. The festivals are quiet, which you expect festivals to be loud. I mean, I totally expect them to be loud. Yeah, timetable for buses. What happens is that in France you have the timetable, and I think it's a case in all the other European countries. They have like a timetable for buses, and the bus is supposed to arrive at that time. In India, in Calcutta, I'm not used to that. You just take a chance. You wait at the bus stop, and you know that okay, this bus is so frequent, so it'll come. Like maybe for people who commute regularly, they know that around this time the bus will come. But I did not, so it would be like once in a while if I take the bus, I'll be like, okay, so I know that the bus will come, so you go in advance and you prepare accordingly. Like okay, this is how long the bus will take. But in France, you can actually plan that okay, I need to be here at 10:30 and I know this bus passes by that station at this time, so you can plan like that. But and then that's more precise. And also if you like, there's no waiting, like you can't hail a bus like in India, wait. No, they will not do all of that. If you're late, you're late. The bus is going to leave. They're not going to wait for you. Like in India, they'll be like, please wait, I'm coming, or I'm crossing the road, I'm coming to the side. That's not going to happen. So that's going to make you more disciplined. And there are also cases where this has happened to me. There are cases where, you know, there are actually buttons at the bus door where the person who wants to board that bus will press the button for the doors to open. And if you don't do that, like it's gonna go. This has happened to me. I was like at a party in Switzerland, and I used to live in France. So I went for the party. It was a salsa party, and then I was waiting for the last bus to take me back to France. And I was waiting for the bus, and I stood there. The driver saw me, and just because I didn't press the button, because like I'm not used to, like in France that is not the case. In Switzerland that's more the case, where you have to press the button. And the bus just went, and I was just standing there totally shocked. Okay, now comes to something that these two things actually other people can find it shocking, but I don't find it shocking. Shopping? Did I say shopping? Shocking. Shocking is that French people love to debate and complain. A lot of people complain about other French people complaining, but then coming from Calcutta, I don't find that shocking at all, because Bengali people and French people are very alike, and that's a totally different topic. One that maybe I can do a video on that, but I'll have to do a lot of research, because there's actually a lot of commonality between like the art and the artists, and a lot of Bengali and French directors collaborate. So I'll have to do that. If you want me to do it, then let me know in the comments below. Growing up as a Bengali in Calcutta, that's something I'm used to seeing: demonstrations, protests, and people debating a lot, even with their own friends and family, and people sharing their difference in opinions very openly, and not seeing it as a way of disrespect or disobedience. It's just that everybody has a very strong opinion, because people read a lot, and mostly because people have a huge expectation, or they have a level of expectation when it comes to their government, leadership, the way of life, food, culture, cinema, art. People have, French and Bengalis, they have very high standards of expectation, and if something doesn't match up to their expectations, they either protest or they complain. And I think that's very necessary. That's how a society progresses, when you are able to know that this is what you should be getting and you're not getting as much, and therefore you should want more. Otherwise, people find it inconvenient in Calcutta, because there's a protest every other day, and the traffic is held up. But I think these are the things that make a society progress, because you are not settling and you are demanding what you rightfully deserve. And for me, just accepting everything is the attitude of a pushover, and I'd rather have the inconvenience of standing up and protesting and have the traffic hold up or the other inconveniences than having the inconvenience of being a pushover and accepting anything and everything that other people are doling out to me. And by other people, I mean society, government, friends, family, everything, even like in the professional life. So that's that. People find that shocking that French people complain a lot, but I didn't find that as a shock because I'm a Bengali, and that too from Calcutta. The other thing that you will notice, you won't notice it right away, but if you observe people and you watch people, you will notice this, that French parents treat their kids as adults. So in India, normally you'll have this scene that the mom or the maid or the father very rarely is chasing the kid to eat, or if the kid is crying, then they will leave everything to tend to the kid and make sure that the kid is not crying, silenced, or pace up and down to make sure that the kid is not crying anymore. You'll not see that in France, because over there they treat kids as adults. They'll have conversations with them as if they are adults and can take their own decisions. So I remember this very clearly. I was in a train and there was this couple with a toddler right across from me, and the kid was bawling and the mother was reading a book, and she didn't either stop reading the book or flinch for a moment when the kid started crying, and the kid was crying loudly and the father was just taking care of it. It's almost as if they had decided that that was her time to read the book and she wouldn't leave everything to take care of the kid, and the father was supposed to do whatever necessary, and she was pretty nonchalant about it and she didn't even flinch for a moment. Like in India, you would expect the mother to leave everything and just tend to the kid. That did not happen. And I remember the other time I was on the phone with someone and he was looking after his kid, babysitting his kid who was a toddler. I could tell from the voice and the fact that he was crying aloud, and the father was not getting angry or irritated or getting or like saying that, oh, I'm going to talk to you later, nothing like that. He just treated it as like a conversation with an adult. So he was having a conversation with the kid, like saying, is this okay, I'm sorry. And he was talking to that 1 or 2 year old. I think he wasn't even 2 years, he was probably like less than a year, and he was talking to that kid, an infant, like an adult, like, I'm sorry, is this okay? And I was just flabbergasted on the other side of the phone. So yeah, so they treat their kids as if they are adults who can take their own decisions and decide when they want to eat, when they don't want to eat, when they want to stop crying, when they don't want to stop crying. Their lives don't revolve around the kids, and I appreciate that. And it was not shocking for me because that's also pretty much how my parents brought me up, and so therefore that was not very shocking for me. And there's one more thing which I actually completely forgot to mention, which was extremely shocking, but then it was not in the original list. And I remember that in France you would see people like being romantic in public, which was very shocking. Like in India, holding hands are also frowned upon, and in France, people, you can see them kissing in public, kissing passionately in public. That's all very accepted and that's very common. And in fact, I remember when my mom and my sister had visited me in France, and we were in the metro in Paris, and there was a couple, young couple, young as in they would be in school.
And they were like making out in front of me and my mom and sister. They was embarrassed, but I was used to it. So for me, I was like, yeah.
And I think that's why traveling is important, to understand that there is no right or wrong. And in India would be frowned upon, not even like, they would be called uncultured and cheap and vulgar. But when you travel and you see that there are different ways of living all over the world and there is no such thing as a right or wrong, then it's eye-opening, and you realize that there is no such one way or one right way of living. Those were all the cultural shocks I faced when I was in France. And if you're someone who's living or has lived in France and from India originally, then do let me know in the comments if I missed out on anything or anything that you found shocking and I have not mentioned in the video. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.